Imagine showing up for a coffee date with a 26-year-old guy from Tinder, only to realize the man walking toward you is actually older than your own dad. Oh, and within 10 minutes, he's pitching you his master plan for you to move into his house and have his babies. Hi, I'm Holly, and if you've heard about my past dating disasters, you know I attract the weirdos. But today's story? This one required a literal rescue mission. Stick around because the audacity of this guy is truly mind-blowing. I had been talking to a guy named Paul for almost a month. His profile said he was 26 and he seemed decent enough over text. When he finally asked to meet, I suggested a nice little cafe just a couple of minutes from my flat on a Saturday afternoon. I was feeling a mix of excitement and nerves. But when Saturday morning actually rolled around, I woke up with this horrible, sinking feeling in my stomach. It felt like butterflies, but darker. It honestly made me feel a little sick. I just put it down to first date jitters, had a long shower and got ready. I arrived at the cafe a little early and took a seat in the corner so I could see the door. It wasn't long before he walked in. Instantly, my stomach dropped. He looked significantly older than he had claimed. His profile photo must have been taken a decade ago. I tried to tell myself to stay calm and not make a big deal out of it, but it was impossible to ignore. I am 24 years old. This guy looked like he was pushing 40, and honestly, that's being generous. As soon as he spotted me, he smiled this overly confident smile, walked over and said, "Wow, you are stunning, Holly. I knew you were a beauty from your photos, but seriously, wow." I just quietly muttered, "Thanks." He sat down, completely oblivious to how stiff and uncomfortable I was. To be fair, he was a good-looking bloke, but my dad is only 43, and this guy legitimately looked older than my dad. Then, the conversation took a massive nosedive. He completely bypassed normal small talk and started asking these incredibly weird, inappropriate questions. He asked how old I was when I had my first real kiss. Then he started probing into my experience in the bedroom. I just stared at him and flatly said, "I'm sorry, but your questions are making me really uncomfortable." He rolled his eyes, muttered something about me being another prude, and then had the absolute nerve to ask if I was into a threesome, specifically FFM. I was like, "What? Absolutely not." He just leaned back and smirked. Most women your age are well up for that. By this point, he was really pissing me off. All my politeness went out the window. I looked right at him and said, "Speaking of ages, how old are you really? You told me you were 26, but that's clearly a lie." He looked me dead in the eyes and completely brushed it off, saying it was just a little white lie, because he knew if he told the truth, I would have blocked him. And then he dropped the absolute wildest bombshell. He casually mentioned that he wanted to meet someone young enough to have a child, and that we would live together in his house. I demanded his real age. He finally admitted he was 45. I told him he was literally older than my parents. Without missing a beat, he smiled and said, "My parents would probably be glad I'd met someone mature who knows what they want in life." I just let out a dry laugh. "Trust me," I said, "if my dad was standing here right now and heard that absolutely crazy plan, he would not be happy. Not a single bit." I stood up, grabbed my bag, and walked right out the door. But he actually followed me. He was trailing behind me on the pavement going, "Come on, give me a chance. Won't you at least have a coffee?" I pulled out my phone, hit video call, and rang my dad. As soon as his face popped up, I put the phone on speaker, turned the volume all the way up and said loudly, "Dad, can you come and get me, please? This guy is older than you, and he wants me to pop out his babies and live in his house of horrors." My dad's face instantly changed. His voice is incredibly deep, and through the phone speaker he sounded absolutely terrifying. He just roared, "Who the fuck do you think you are? Move away from my daughter. You best be gone when I get there. Paul stopped dead in his tracks, turned around, sprinted to his car and sped off down the road. I just smiled at my phone, said, "Thanks, Dad," and safely walked the 2 minutes around the corner to my flat. Needless to say, Paul was immediately blocked. Have you ever had to call in family backup to escape a nightmare date? Let me know your craziest escape stories in the comments below. I read every single one. If you enjoyed this disaster, please hit that subscribe button and leave a like. It really helps the channel out, and trust me, I have plenty more stories where that came from. See you in the next one!